What's going on, everybody? It's your boy RT, aka Teezy, and welcome to the Keeping Up with Teezy podcast. Now, as usual, before I get started, I want to give a big shout out to all the people that have been listening to my show, you know, and help me support the movement, you know. Like I said, it's gonna take some time, but once I put more work in, it's gonna be something big. Like it's gonna be the next big thing. Trust me. So just to give a big shout out to all my subscribers on YouTube, followers on IG, and as well on my Facebook page, Keeping Up with Teezy Podcast. You know, and I thank y'all for that. I thank y'all real heavy for that. And before I get into this, like it was, how should I put this? Like I was debating all week on what I should talk about because I feel like as everything I've been talking about over the past month, I pretty much damn near covered everything that I was going to talk about. From mental health, having a job, all that stuff. You know, sometimes it's not easy to come up with something, especially if you're doing especially if you're doing other things at once. Like my focus, like right now, is like at my job where I'm working at right now. You know, but at the same time, I still have time to do. You know, trying to keep building up this podcast to a whole nother level. You know, and that's like one of my goals, man. To make this shit popping, like every other podcast that's out there. You know. Ooh. Ooh. Damn, I needed that. Ooh. But yeah, man, I had to take a shot of Jack Daniels to loosen me up a little bit. Shit gave me the chills though. But yeah, you know, like I said, at times for me, it's hard for me to talk about. Trying to think of certain stuff I wanted to talk about. So, you know, but this one, I think y'all should really enjoy and relate to. Like, trust me, it's well worth listening to. So my topic is, dealing with toxic energy and turn that negative energy to positive. You know, everybody goes through every once in their life, no matter how old you are. You know, but it really don't start kicking in until you really get older. Once you start to see how the real world is, like how everybody treats you and all that stuff. You know, that's why at times I used to tell people I'm not like a people person. Like I don't like to be around with people like that because they just be acting weird sometimes, especially nowadays in today's society. Because you don't know who to trust at all. Like, you know, one day they say they'll be your friend, and then next thing you know, like it's like they just turn their backs on you. As if you had did something to them. And I had that happen to me plenty of times, but you know what? I just learned to, move on. You know, sometimes you gotta forget. I mean, sometimes you gotta forgive, but never forget. That's like the thing I've been following, man, is to forgive, but never forget. Because, you may made up with that person and all that stuff, but in your mind, is it going to be the same as it was, or it's going to be different? You know, it's not just that. Like, you know, sometimes like you deal with certain things that that comes your way, just blocking on what you have to do in life, and that's why I feel like that's where I really feel like right now, man. It's like, you know, like when you're trying to get somewhere, when you're trying to reach that goal you always wanted to go, you know, like every once in a while there'll always have obstacles that's thrown in your way. You know, no matter what, never give up. That's the biggest lesson. Never give up. No matter how many obstacles that's been thrown around you, you try to maneuver that shit until you get there. You know, even if you have to take shortcuts, like you just gotta, run through that shit until you actually make it. But that's for another story. That's for another discussion. But like over the years, like I always been dealing with like, dealing with people that, you know, like even at my job sometimes, man, like I just don't like to be around with people like that, especially if you're working in retail. Like, cause like every once in a while once you going into a store thinking you're gonna have a good day, but every once in a while, like especially as the whole day goes, like you always gotta like you always end up, you know, had to deal with a certain person that will just constantly would just get on your nerves for no reason. You know, especially if they doing the most, like asking you certain shit you don't feel like doing at times. You know, cause that's how I feel at my job sometimes, man. Like I just don't like, especially like when people be calling me to do such and such as if I'm the only person there. And y'all got like five other people there or whatnot that like they'll always find some way to piss you off, you know. But at the same time, man, like shit like that don't stress me out too much because I just learned how to deal with it. If they want me to do this and that, I'll do it. You know, because like especially if I'm working or whatever, if somebody I don't like that just like to give me extra shit to do, like I'll try to handle that shit. But don't make it seem like I'm gonna be doing that shit on an everyday basis because I'm not the only person that could do this and do that. Like, nah. Like that's not what I came here to do. Like I just came to do my job and not to stress about anybody else that's there. You know, because cause like every job like that, you always end up have to deal with some what. Bleh. You always gonna end up dealing with a certain somebody that just gonna irk your soul. You know, like even at my fiance's old job, she was working at she was like a call representative. Like she takes in patients and all that other stuff. But the people who work there, like even though she does a good job and everything, like she been there for almost 2 years, and they just recently let her go. But my fiance, she always been a hard worker. She always has. But it's like in this job that she was working at the time, like they will do some shit that just have your mind blown. Like, cause I remember when she told me that they fired her over having her having too many bathroom breaks or whatever. And I'm like, Danielle don't, and I'm just like, she don't even use the bathroom like that at work. You know, you work at home, you ain't got to deal with nobody else but the people that's on them phones. That's it. You know, like why are they so concerned about you that you got to do this and do that? And I was telling myself like, ain't no way in hell you could try to hold that shit in for a long period of time. Like, if you have to go to the bathroom, then you gotta go. Cause like, ain't nobody gonna try to hold you or force you to hold that shit until you go to lunch, which is like 2-3 hours from then. You know, and that's the sad part, cause you know, and on top of that, you know, at times like she gotta look out for her brother's transportation when he goes to work. So you really can't blame her for all that stuff she doing. Like she's pretty much doing the majority of the work of her own. You know, cause like, and then like I said, those type of people that's working in there, they'll just do some petty shit like that. Like they'll get you in trouble over for nothing. You know, cause they always find a way to, you know, get you in trouble and stuff like that. And that's why I can't deal with not only jobs that work like that, but deal with people who run this shit that operates like that. Cause like it's so much shit you could tolerate, you know, deal with a job that's like, you know, you gotta deal with people every damn day, every second. Like like you try your best to be calm and professional as much as you can for the whole day until you ready to clock out. And you know, sometimes like you just gotta go with the flow. Like just don't pay it no mind. That's why I used to tell her. Cause like I said, you will find people that's like rude, disrespectful, all that shit. Cause you can't you can't, you know, say, custom back, custom out back, and anything like that. Cause that's one way they will fire as in the drop of a dime. You know, like sometimes you gotta watch what you say and try not to think about it too much. You know, cause like the more you think about it, like the more, you know, it will overwhelm you in the long run. Cause like I said, even though at times, man, like at my job, I deal with shit like that every damn day. Like especially people I don't like when they give me dirty looks and talking shit or whatever. But at the same time, I'm not there to kiss nobody's ass or, you know, be friends to anybody in that joint. Like I'm cool whoever I'm cool with. You know, as long as you treat me with respect, you get the same back. Like that's who I am. Like, you know, you give me respect, you gonna get the same treatment back. Like, you know, because if you don't like me, then fuck you too. Like for real. Like I be telling people, I don't kiss nobody's ass to get to where I need to go or be friends with anybody. I just came there, do what I gotta do, get paid, and get the fuck out. Plain and simple. Cause I don't have time for stuff like that. Like I don't have time for people's bullshit or anything else that the matter. Cause I got bills to pay, and the mother I gotta take care of, and the fiance on top of that. Cause nobody gonna let me, not nobody, not a fucking soul that's going you know, you know. I lost my damn train of thought. You know, just do my thing, get it over with. Like I just do what I gotta do, and leave. That's it. Cause that's I always feel like that's what people expect me to do, to just come in there and kiss ass or whatnot. I'm like, I'm not here for none of that shit. Y'all keep that shit to yourself, cause I know plenty of people that be doing that shit, and most of them be team leads and all that other shit. Y'all can have that shit. Ain't no money in the world make me do that kind of shit. No, like, fuck that shit, man. Cause I don't, like I said, at times I don't deal with shit like that, man. Like, I try to stay away from people as much as I can. Cause dealing with toxic energy and dealing with everybody else that's act like they toxic, like, I stay away from that shit. Cause I'm a man that's all about positivity. Like, I've been this way since I was a kid, man. Like especially back in the day when I was like in elementary school, like I pretty much knew everybody that I was cool with. Like, everybody was cool with me. Cause you ain't gonna feel no type of way about me. Like, once you get to know me, man, you gonna see a whole different side of me. Like I'll be quiet at first and try to talk, you know. But once you get to know more of me and all that stuff, like I said, trust me, you gonna fuck with me all the way. Like, that's the type of motherfucker that I am. Like, I don't give no weird files or none of that shit. Like, I give it to you just how how you see it and how I see it. Ain't no fake shit going on here. That's one thing I don't do. That's one thing I don't do is go for the fake shit. And that's also you gotta be aware of too. But like I said, that's gonna be for another topic. Like dealing with, you know, toxic energy, you know, sometimes like you just gotta find your own space. Like, you know, get away from everybody and everything that's in your mind. Like everything that's been going on. Just find peace. Like, just find peace to yourself, man. That's like your main focus is yourself, and work on yourself. The more you work on yourself, the more peaceful and positive you could be, and that's where I'm trying to be at right now. You know, like even my mom, man, like she was even hipping to me. Yeah. Like she tried to get me hip on, watching these little motivational, these like competition of like motivational speeches that I be watching on YouTube. Like it really helps. Like it really do. Cause I be listening to them in the mornings when I'm at work. Cause that's the only way that that will keep myself going and trying to avoid any negativity that's there. Cause I don't have time for shit like that. I don't. you know. Cause like especially to get to where I need to be at, like listen to that stuff really helps you and get to where you need to go. Like I was even telling my fiance that like she gotta start listening to it more. Like it's about time you start thinking positive. You think positive, you're gonna be positive. you know? That's what my mom always tell me over the years is like, just always think positive. The more positive you think, man, the more positive you be, the more good things that come to you. And I always believe that shit, man, because at times, like, especially when I'm, like, in my, when I have my down points and all that stuff, man, like, I just always be wondering, like, where do I need to go to get to this? Like, if I want a house or have a car or have a whole bunch of money, like, what do I need to do in order for me to get all these things? You know? And that's something I always had wondered, man, but the only answer you could find is God. Only Him. Only He will make a way. You know? Only God provides you all the stuff that you want in life and pray about. You know? And to me, like, I'm not that religious of a man, but I always believed in God. I always believed in God. Always has been, always will be. You know? Like, He's the reason for my existence. You know? Sometimes I thank God every day that I wake up for another day. You know? Now I'm glad that I'm here, that I could find, that I could see 30. Hopefully, I'll ask Him if I could make it to 30. He will. He will let me see be 30. Like, you know, that's all you could think about is like have faith. Have faith in God. Because like I said, man, like listen to the motivational speeches. Like it really helps you. Like I was even listening to Steve Harvey, and I remember one of the things he had said, man, that I could really relate to is like when he was like starting doing stand up, being like 29 years old, and living his car for 3 years. Like when I listen to stuff like that, like that's something I really could relate to. Like that's where I'm feeling like right now. you know, because like every time I think about that shit, man, it takes me back when I used to be homeless too. I had nothing. I basically had nothing to live for at that period. Because I didn't know where the fuck I was going to go after that. Because I feel like I was going to be stuck in that position forever. Even like trying to find the jobs and all that stuff, man, it was tough. Like, especially in the moments, man, where I would just like sit there and cry and just asking God, why is this happening? Like when I think of stuff like that, man, like it just kind of like motivates me on what do I need, like what do I want. Yeah. It gives me that motivation on where I need to go in order for me not to go through that situation again. Cause I wouldn't wish that shit on nobody. Cause I'd rather be dead than being homeless. Like that's like one of the worst feelings you could ever have. Like, and like I said, now I can relate to some of the stuff that he was talking about. You know, being 29 years old, just started doing stand up, and living in a car for 3 whole years. And then bam, like he's like a fucking multi-millionaire. Like that's where I need to be at right now. It's like listen to that kind of stuff will help you, to motivate you on where you need to go in life. To make sure you have faith in God and, make sure He will get you all the things that you need in life that you've been asking for all these years in your life. And that's why my mom always used to tell me, be positive, think positive. You know, and you will get there. And I know I will get there too. You know, Cause like I can relate to that type of stuff, man. Cause just thinking about that shit like every day, it's just like, damn. Like this day, I was in that same situation then there, over a decade ago. Like I said, I wouldn't wish that shit on nobody. I would not wish that shit on nobody. Like it's a terrible feeling to not to have a house of your own, not knowing when you going when the next time you're going to sleep, or when your next meal coming, or any money coming in at that. Like you feel like all that shit is just gone by the time your ass hit the pavement and sleeping in it. Like it's the worst feeling to ever have, man. It's the worst. Like being through that shit with my mom's, man, it was tough, man. It was really tough, man. But luckily, like I said, we had faith in God, and He blessed us, to have a place to stay, you know, and especially having money coming in and make sure the rent's paid, cars paid off, everything, you know. And I just be thanking Him every day that I'm glad I'm here. That I'm still here to live another day and get to see the next day. Because, you only get a time like this. Like, you only live once. So, try to live as much as you can, Because, like, especially once you get rid of all that toxic energy in you and around you, like, trust me, you gonna make it. You will make it. And I remember I used to tell my fiance the same thing I'm talking right now. Because she was practically dealing with that same situation herself. Because, I remember me and her first starting dating. Like, she was cool with some friends that she used to hang around with and all that time. Especially one that she used to date, who shall remain nameless. And yeah, man, it seemed like everything was cool for the beginning, but after a while, like especially her ex at the time, like he would just start acting too funny. Like he was just acting toxic for no fucking reason. You know, especially at that time when she told me that all three of them went to Applebee's or some shit, and I forgot what it was about. He was pretty much was yelling at her about something, and then she started crying and all that stuff, and I was just like, you need to let that shit go. But it was like the more they was like hang around and all that stuff, the more he was starting doing that shit. Cause it's like every time when he's around her, like he gets all this toxic energy out of nowhere. And that's why I used to tell her, like, cut him off. Because I'm like, if he keep on acting like that, like what's the point of even being around him? And then not to mention at the time they was dating or whatever, like he had cheated on her. Because like I said, I can't have no respect on any man that does that shit. I don't even see myself in that same situation. Cause like Especially when once you start to deal with somebody that you know for a long period of time, and then you going off doing most, the ultimate betrayal of all time, like cheating on somebody that you love to a whole nother motherfucker that you just started talking to. Like, that shit, like especially how I see it, man, like especially women, how they react to stuff like that. Like they become like a cup of glass. Like it like personifies their emotions, like how they carry themselves and whatnot. And they're fragile. Like their emotions are fragile. Once you break that apart, like you try to glue that shit back together as much as you can, but it's not gonna be the same. That's how I see it. Like once you break that glass, ain't no coming back to that. There's no point of trying to fix it. And I couldn't be friends with somebody like that I used to date that did that shit to me. I couldn't do that shit. I would have to cut them off completely before anything. So yeah, the more he did that shit, man, the more stressed out she was starting to become. And I remember one time I was at work, and this is, well, I was working overnight at the time, and she had messaged me when I first came there, when I first came to work or whatever. So she had told me that he had messaged her telling her that he was gonna beat my ass and all that stuff, and I was like, hold up. I was like, number one, he don't even know me like that, and two, if he even try to do that shit, I will take that bid. On everything I love, I will take a bid for him if he tries to do that shit. Cause I'm like, you ain't know me like that, dude. Like, you will get your ass stomped on. Like, and that's the shit I was warning her about. Like, having her calling the bitch and all that shit. Like, I was ready to see old boy. You know? But at the same time, man, I'm just like, is this shit even worth it? Cause, cause I know at the time, I didn't let shit like that stress me out. Cause I'm not losing sleep over him or any other shit he trying to do. Cause he know that ain't gonna happen. And then like along the line, um, one of her friends that they was hanging around with, she ended up co-signing his bullshit. Cause when my girl told me that shit, I was like, ain't no fucking way. Cause you cannot sit here and co-sign all that bullshit that his ass been doing this whole time, treating her like shit, and then you want to try to put the blame on her for that shit too. That's why I told my girl, cut their ass off, cause they ain't your real friends at all. Cause they cannot, they out. Like, that man is toxic as a bitch and acts feminine like a bitch. So I really don't see how y'all hang around a type of dude like that. Like, cause a dude like that, man, hell no. Like, I couldn't be around with somebody like that at all. Just spraying all that toxic energy all over the place, man. Like, he would have had to go. He would have been got cut off. And that's exactly what she did. Ever since then, man, her life been like, her life literally has been changed for the better since, especially since dating me. Now that we ain't engaged and all that stuff, she ain't gotta worry about shit like that no more. Never. And that's why I always told her, get rid of that toxic energy. Because you don't need that shit in your life. That's the last thing you need right now. Is having them to spread that bullshit all over the place like that. Then you gonna end up succumbing to that shit. Because the more you get influenced by, the more you being around with toxic energy, the more likely that shit gonna come to you. And that's the last thing you want, is to be around with toxic ass energy. And that, like I said, that's not me. Like, I don't like that shit. Because that's one thing about dealing with people. Sometimes you gotta be watchful of what they say and do. Because y'all might be cool everyone. All that shit gonna change when something happens. And they come talking ill about you, spreading rumors about you. Like, that's how all that shit gonna start. It might be even get worse than that. But that's the last place you want to be in, is being around with that toxic energy. And then another thing, is another thing I wanted to say too. I remember my mom, she was telling me that she had like built like a vision board where you pretty much like cut up like certain pieces of magazines. Like, you just cut out homes, money, all that stuff that you want to have in the future. Like money, house, cars, all that shit. And that's something I've always been planning on doing, man. Like, because once you paste all that shit together and just have it out there so you can see it every day and pray on it, the more likely that shit will come to you. And I remember Steve Harvey was talking about that too. Because I remember he had said he was at school one day and I think that he had to do. And he was telling the teacher that he wanted to be on TV. All that stuff. So I'm guessing the teacher didn't like that shit, so she ended up calling his mom about it and got him in trouble just because that he said he wanted to be on TV. Like, even his mother said the same thing, that asking him why you want to be on TV, like as if it was a bad thing. And and then his father came home. His father came home. She made him to tell him what he had said. That he wanted to be on TV, and his father said, "What's wrong with that?" Like, that lets you know, man, like, you always gonna have a support system. Like, every time I hear stuff like that, man, like, that just kind of like motivates me on what I have to do. And then he would have like damn, I want to say a vision board, but I think he had like wrote a note that he posted up on his refrigerator, I think, that says, "I want to be on TV," every day. Like, every time he wakes up in the morning or walk past it, he makes sure he sees that shit every day until it becomes to reality. And like I said, that's something I've always been planning on doing. Like, I wish I had done that early on, especially in my childhood. Even though I always said, like, especially when I was in middle school, I wanted to be an actor. But I never had that, like, support system. Like that. Not even my mom. Like, You know, because I remember when we was in Florida one day, we were living with my sister and her ex-husband at the time. And I told her I want to become a wrestler. I told her I wanted to become a wrestler. So, um, she told me, like, she pretty much was knocking me down on why I need to be this and do that. And I'm like, Mom, like, come on. Like, you just making this shit worse. Like, you make it sound like I don't have what it takes to be a wrestler or anything else at the matter. And then I even told her I wanted to write poetry. You know, 'cause that's something I've been doing since I was like, when I was like 12. Like, even she was damn near against that shit. So I'm just like, Mom, what the hell you want me to do? Cause I'm not trying to be stuck in at some dead end job forever. And that's what you want me to do. Cause I refuse to work under somebody else. Like, that's something I've always been saying all this time, man. I ain't trying to be working under nobody else. Like, I want to do my own thing, just be my own boss and make my own money. Like, how hard that can be. And just for you not to support that shit, just make me feel like I ain't worth shit. You know? But it's like later on when I actually told her I wrote poetry, she must have forgot that I had did. But but it's like later on, like she's starting to accept the shit more. You know? And that's something I always wanted to do, like especially what Steve Harvey did, like just have like a poster or like a note, that says you want to do this or do that. Just pray on it until it becomes a reality. And that's something I always wanted to make sure, like once, once I put that shit out there, like all that shit gonna come in full circle. You know, like the more positive you think, man, you know, more it will come to you, man. And that's what I want in my future, is just to have that mind frame, just to get where I need to go, just get rid of all that toxic energy and, become positive and get my goals accomplished, you know? Because that's something you always want to do, like, just to avoid drama in your life, all that negativity, all that shit. Because it's not going to help you later on. Like, even now, like, it's not going to help you at all. Because, like I said, the more you be around that toxic energy, the more it will come to you. And you're going to start acting just like how them motherfuckers are. Just be talking shit about who wore this or what kind of shoes they wearing and all that stuff. Like I don't, like I said, even then, like when people trying to, trying to have me to talk shit about them or whatever, I just don't pay nobody no mind. I could give a fuck about them. Like, I could give a fuck if you die. Like, you're not part of my family. You don't pay my bills. So who are you to me? And that's how I always been seeing it. Like, I don't give a fuck about nobody else but myself and those that I really fuck with. I just call it like I see it. I don't give a fuck about nobody else but myself. That's it. Because I don't need to be around that toxic energy like that. Because Cause like I said, life is like a track, like a racetrack. Like the more, like as soon as you start, and more obstacles just throws at you, you just gotta try to get over it. You know, and that's how I see it, man. Like life is like, you know, like running track. Cause once you start, you gonna see all them obstacles that comes towards you. And once you get over it, trust me, it'll help you in the long run. Like once you get over it, you will make it. You will make it. You know, cause no matter how life hits you, you just gotta go with the punch. Just gotta smile through the bullshit and keep moving with your life. Cause nobody in this world could give a fuck about you. Not even after you're dead. Like, sad as it is, man, they don't give a fuck about you if you here or not. You just gotta learn how to move on and roll with it. Fuck them. You know, and that's all I gotta say on that. That's all I have to say. So, you know, I want to try to cut this shit short because I'm hungry as a motherfucker. So, you know, I'm glad y'all listened to this show and as well as this topic. You know, as far as I could think about the other ones, like if I could think of a certain topic, I'll let y'all know. But you know, like I said, you just gotta move on with your life. You know, don't worry about everybody else and what the fuck they doing. Just focus on you and keep away from that toxic energy. You know, stay away from that shit as far as possible. You know, and like I said, you know, damn, lost my train of thought. You know, shout out to all my subscribers on YouTube. Keeping up with Teezy. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. You know, on the tube, and as well follow me on Keeping Up with Teezy podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and as well as on Anchor too. Make sure y'all listen to and follow my podcast on not only the tube but on Spotify and Anchor. That's it. You know, and I want to thank y'all for listening. You know, thank y'all for letting me talk my shit. You know, but I gotta go. See you when I see you. Peace.